And we're live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into it, wanted to give a quick reminder about our merch drop. You can find our merch link in the description and in our YouTube bio. You can see sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, and all men's and women's in all sizes. So go ahead and check that out if you want to support Revved Up 906 when you're out and about in your community. We will also be in Detroit for the Detroit Pistons versus the Charlotte Hornets, and then also their bout against the Phoenix Suns February 4th and 5th. If you want to catch us at Little Caesars Arena, we will be there bringing you content and also doing podcasts from our hotel room. So we're looking forward to that. Well, tonight's bout, or this afternoon's bout, was in Paris. The Detroit Pistons versus the Chicago Bulls. That final score was 126. The Bulls 108. The D. Kind of give us some of your first takeaways from this game, Ryan.
Well, it's kind of hard playing against a star-studded team like the Bulls. Their record is actually worse than what they actually are as a team. They're easily, in my opinion, one of the best teams in the East. When completely healthy, their record just doesn't show it right now. But the fact that we kind of hung in there for a second and then came back time and time again on a good team like this is a lot of like hard work and dedication, really. Our team, it wasn't like anything special of a game. It was definitely more of like, it just felt normal. It felt like we were gonna lose because it happens a lot. But
Right.
I still think we played great. When you have Jaden Ivey, who pretty much controlled that entire fourth quarter, come in the way he did, 16 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, I'm gonna take that. Killian, though, was very underwhelming. I thought he would be at least better statistically. He wasn't. He shot 2 for 13 and 0 for 6 from 3, which is not good. For Killian, I think it was just more of like jitters. Because think about it. You're playing in your home country for the first time in forever, and it's the first time his grandma got to see him play in forever. So it's like the pressure's on you. You're the hometown kid. You kind of have to put a show on, and it just doesn't happen. I think him and others on our team in the fourth, but overall the second half of the game, we're just trying to do too much, and that's what led to our loss tonight.
Yeah, we've seen in this stretch of a couple months since Cade's been gone, these games where we fall back to about like 21 points, and then middle of the second quarter, we come back and we get within 9. And then we fall back 14, and then we get within 9. Then we fall back to down 14, then we get back to 7. And it's just like this pattern for the next 3 quarters. And I've noticed that it happens most often since Cade's absence. I think if Cade's playing in these games, we're not necessarily winning all these games, but I think regaining the lead is way more possible with Cade in the lineup. And when we see L's like this to the Chicago Bulls, it's just, I think it's such a brutal loss because we don't have Cade. So, the Bulls came out early with a 9-2 lead in the first quarter. That was kind of when the Bulls were kind of setting the tempo, when they were showing, okay, we're controlling this game. I think if the Pistons came out a little bit earlier with some energy, that we would have been able to kind of show the Bulls, hey, we're going to hang in this. But that just didn't happen. The Bulls controlled the tempo right from the beginning. What I noticed too about tonight's game, and this isn't the typical for the Pistons, but I noticed Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart most in the action down low fighting with Vucevic, and then all other 4 guys kind of standing around watching them battle on the offensive end. And I'm like, Ivy's so quick. Sadiq is such a good shooter. Like, be setting yourself up, for a shot if I'm Sadiq while these guys are battling. So they have a quick, easy outlet pass. But we notice, and I think why we're not starting to see the team connect chemistry wise as much as we would like, I think that is because a lot of the guys that we have need to learn how to get better at playing off the ball.
Yeah.
If you look at the going to work Pistons, we saw guys like Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton be so good at getting themselves in good spots when they don't have the ball in their hands. And I think these young guys will start to learn it, but you kind of want to see those gears starting to turn with the Pistons, and you just don't really see that happening yet.
Yeah, and to that point, a lot of these guys were the guy where they played in college. So it's more of like they never really had the opportunity to really learn how to play off the ball. I mean, I'd say Stu probably should have learned, but it's still the point is like Ivy at Purdue last year, he was ball dominant pretty much the entire time. And
Right.
that's not a bad thing. That shows you how good he is, but it's still more of like you can be great off the ball too. And it just goes to show you how young this team is because when you see Bogey sitting in the corner waiting for a shot, it's
Mm,
like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. Or you see
right.
Bay sitting in the corner waiting for a shot, he knows what he's doing. Or even Alec Burks, even though he didn't hit every shot, he was still waiting in the corner, waiting for the shot. So it just I think it just comes with time. I think more of our younger guys need to learn that they're not necessarily gonna be the guy every single time they touch the ball. But that just comes with experience, and we're fine. We still like Ivy is still a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Stu, even though he's in his third-ish year now, it's kind of like you can still learn. He's not getting
Oh,
it
yeah.
there, but it's just he really hasn't ever had to play off the ball like that before because he's now starting to shoot more threes and everything. So that will progress that area. But I think just in the sense of our team, of what we were able to do tonight, given the lack of experience, was was decent enough to say like, oh, that was a solid game, even though we lost bad. It's just we're playing such a great team in Chicago.
And savvy vets. I mean,
Yeah,
there are not many more savvy players than Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Shout out to the Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bulls organization for getting two savvy vets together like that because they are so dangerous. They're so good at the mid-range game. And we just saw DeMar DeRozan over and over and over again tonight just school the Pistons. He got Isaiah Livers twice, maybe three times on pump fake fouls. I mean, come on, Isaiah. Like, that's coming. Like, it's coming. That's in the scouting report. Like, that's what DeMar does. And he still fell for it. So that was pretty frustrating seeing that happen. You kind of want Isaiah to kind of gather himself a little bit more and calm down and know that those pump fakes are coming and just let them happen. And then if he does actually shoot it, test your luck with your
yeah,
length.
yeah. We were doing a little too much tonight, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a little annoying because it's like, oh, why are you even trying to do that right now? All you have to do is calm down and be patient and let the game flow. Don't force weird shots up that you normally wouldn't take, or don't look for fouls. Just play the game the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to be played. And and look at Chicago as an example. You have their role players who on most teams wouldn't actually be role players, they'd be starters.
Right.
That's how deep Chicago is. And
Yeah.
those
Like
guys are,
Alex Caruso.
yeah, those guys are coming in and just doing their thing and not looking for fouls, not looking for anything out of the ordinary, not forcing up weird shots. They're just playing their game. And
Yeah.
that's why you can see why they would have scored 126 points tonight. Not even because our defense was atrocious, or not even because we weren't scoring consistently. It's just when you play a team that deep, you have to learn how to stop everybody and not just one guy.
Right.
And and I think that's a learning curve for us going forward. Is besides a rivalry in the future for Orlando, I'd say Chicago's that team. Like we were the team for Jordan. The Bulls are the team for us right now.
Yeah.
And until we get over that hump and those learning curves, I think they're still gonna just beat us down consistently. But this is a learning experience, and I think our team is gonna benefit from it.
And credit to Nikola Vucevic because he is I am I'm up I'm kind of he kind of I kind of turned into a fan tonight by watching his game. I mean, he is a force to be reckoned with, putting up 41 about 3 games ago. I'm not sure
Yep.
against who, maybe the Cavs, but he's just a great talent, and to know that Orlando developed him so well. I mean, he was there for so many years, so it's nice to see him succeeding on a solid team like the Bulls. And I just turned into a fan because he's just so savvy. And Duran defended him
Yeah.
well, better than Stu defended him. But I also noticed with Duran tonight, it seemed like he was kind of babying his ankle a little bit.
Hmm.
He kind of seemed maybe a little bit one step slower than he typically is. We saw him get 2 dunks, but other than that, like, he kind of seemed like he was kind of catering it a little bit. So hopefully
Yeah.
we can see him get a little bit more comfortable getting up and down the floor these next couple games. Tonight's game was basically a dunk contest. If
Yep.
you're a fan in Paris that's just like a fan and excited to watch NBA basketball, I think this would have been a pretty fun one. The
Oh yeah.
only thing that would have made it a little bit more fun if it was a little bit closer in
Yep.
the end. But Jalen Duren with 2 dunks, Hamidou Diallo with 3 dunks, one from Bojan, which never happens, one from Sadiq, and then one from Jaden Ivey. And that's just for the Detroit Pistons.
Yep.
Derek Jones Jr. with 3 dunks. I think Zach LaVine got one. And then Nikola Vucevic might have gotten one. So I'd like to know what the record is for most dunks in a game, because
Yeah.
I feel like this had to have been pretty close to that because there was just so many dunks. So it was fun to watch. But as a Pistons fan, it's so frustrating just watching DeMar and Zach LaVine just shred us up.
Yeah. Yeah. But shout out to the guy that forgot his passport at home. He he still had a great game, honestly.
Yeah.
4 for 4 for field goals, and then 3 for 4 at the free throw line, which that's a big improvement compared to where he started the season off at. And he
Yep.
had 11 points, 12 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. I will definitely take that any
Absolutely.
day. He did all of that in just 18 minutes too, which is the more impressive thing.
Yeah.
And to your point, babying his ankle, he still produced that. So we should be excited for the future with him.
Yeah, and Greg and George have been talking more and more about him. They referenced tonight. For anyone who doesn't know, Greg and George are the Bally Sports announcers for the Detroit Pistons. But they referenced tonight how great he's been looking and how much potential this guy has. And earlier on in the season, they were talking maybe G League for him, and now he's kind of one of the shining lights in this losing season.
Yeah, and that's honestly amazing to see because
Right.
I always sat there, even prior to this year's draft, I'm like, please, Detroit, draft him because I
Yeah.
saw something special. Like,
Right.
there's no way a freak of an athlete like him shouldn't be on this Pistons roster. And the fact that we have him and he's playing great every single night he gets an opportunity, that's just wow. Because that's fun to watch, one. And then two, watch out for the Pistons in the future. Because
Mhm.
if he plays like this consistently throughout his career and even getting even more points, the sky's the limit for him. And just think about what he could be just as an NBA player in general, not just for the Pistons. It's going
Right.
to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for his future. There's 2 more things I want to hit on, and then Ryan, I'll shoot it over to you to wrap things up for today's recap. Credit to Dwayne Casey, because out of every Pistons timeout, we almost always on the offensive end get a bucket. Today we saw us come out of a timeout, get a quick bucket, and you could tell the play was drawn up. We got a defensive stop and then right back, and we went on a 4-point run. The Pistons always look so good out of timeouts. So I definitely wanted to just reference that because that's all Casey at work. That's him leading this team. So that was really nice to see us kind of pull it together coming out of a timeout when Casey has great timing. Hamidou Diallo again tonight. It seems like we've been talking about him almost every recap. He had 17 points on 7 of 8 shooting, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and I believe he had 1 or 2 steals in there. But Hamidou Diallo, he is finding consistency. He is finding his niche, his role on the Detroit Pistons, and I think he will be around for the coming years just by the way he's been playing. And you could, I mean, I don't want to take starting minutes away from Jaden Ivey, but you can argue that he's playing better than Jaden Ivey right now, and that he might be more beneficial being a starter. But he has just been playing so well, and I'm so happy to see that. And it looks like he's having fun on the court too.
Yeah, he's been playing great. And I could see an argument for him starting over Ivy. I could also
Right.
see an argument for him starting over Bay. But I I think he's fine coming off the bench. I think he's loving it because think about it. He's going against typically some of the not not as talented players on most teams most nights coming off the
Not as
bench.
athletic, right?
Yeah,
Not as like
yeah,
uber athletic like him.
yeah. So when he gets to compete against those guys, he's always gonna have a smile on his face, even if he doesn't get a call. It's more of like, oh yeah, I get to put on a show now. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, a takeaway for me tonight would be Isaiah Livers. Even though
Mm-hmm.
he only had the 6 points and the 2 assists and 2 rebounds, he he did come to play. He
Mm-hmm.
came to play tonight. And those 2 huge threes in the second half, my goodness, those were big. If we could have just given him one more shot instead of Bogey taking that one shot, if I recall, I think that would have been like, oh, he would have nailed that, and then we probably would have gone on a run. But I think we need to look for the guy with the hot hand. We don't do that
Mm-hmm.
often enough because typically it's either like let's say Livers hits the three, hits 2 threes in a row, and then they're not looking for him anymore all of a sudden. They're looking, oh, there's Bogey, let's hit him. And then Bogey misses, which isn't normal. But then it's like now the Bulls are coming back down. They're gonna hit a shot, and then there goes our little run. It's
Yeah.
just more of that. You got to look for the hot hand sometimes. And we just don't do that enough. But I can understand why, because look at our roster. We have a ton of shooters. When you have Bogey, Bay, Stu now, and then Ivy, Hayes, Livers, literally everybody on our team can shoot. The only
Right.
one that really can't is obviously Nerlens Noel. But Hami isn't a great 3-point shooter. He can do it, but he's not great. And so that's something he needs to improve on, but he's perfectly fine not shooting threes.
Right.
And but yeah, I think we need to look for the hot hand more.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think when you see Livers shoot 2 for 4 from the 3-point line, I think he should be getting a couple more shots a game like than that. I think he should be getting about 8 shots, 9 shots, 10 shots up because he's a scorer. So the fact that he only got to put up 4 shots tonight, I wish Casey kind of addressed that in the huddle. Be like, hey, Livers got 6 points right now. Let's start feeding Livers. Let's see what we can do on some pick and roll, on some screens up top, and maybe see if Livers can get a couple more shots up. So that will be our revved up recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Chicago Bulls. That final score was, why can't I see it? Was 126 Bulls, 108 Detroit Pistons. Before we leave, I had my outro. Oh yeah, so tomorrow's mothership episode, we call our in studio podcast our mothership. We will be talking about the top 10 youngest teams in the NBA. Who's at number 1? Who's at number 10? Where do the Detroit Pistons lie in that top 10? You will see that all tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. So make sure to like and subscribe. Push the notifications button so you can see whenever we are posting our recaps and our mothership episodes. And we will see you in tomorrow's episode. Peace.